Hello everyone, I'm still working on my short film about a mouse who brings a painting to an art show and ends up trading paintings with a new friend. In the last video, I showed you what the mouse's painting looks like and some of the details I created for the background in the mouse's studio. And I mentioned a doll I used to play with when I was a boy. It was a Paddington Bear doll, and I used to like to make miniature objects for Paddington's apartment. And that reminded me of another doll I used to play with when I was a boy. It's one I still have, and I thought you'd like to see it because I made it myself. It's right here on this toy boat. When I was about 10 years old, my family moved to a house that was near a stream, and I used to like to make toy boats and sail them in the stream. And I would try different designs for my boats. This was the last one I made. I was probably about 13 years old when I made this one, and I thought I would try making a little person to sail the boat. So this is the person. You can see that the arms move, and I put pegs on the deck of the boat and I drilled a hole in the bottom of the person so that he can stand on the deck like this and he won't fall off if the boat tips. Now I don't live near that stream anymore, but I had an opportunity to visit some tide pools last winter and I brought my boat along so I could show you what it looks like on the water. It was really fun to play with my old boat again. I wonder why all through history humans have always liked playing with dolls and puppets and toys that are miniature versions of big things. I wonder if it has to do with the way we perceive perspective. That is, objects that are far away look smaller, and objects that are close to us look bigger. So if we hold a toy close to ourselves, we can adapt very easily to that scale and feel we're part of that miniature world we're imagining. I've made use of that ability to adapt to different scales when making the mouse movie. For example, when I made two versions of the poster, one that was the right scale for the puppet and a bigger one for a close-up shot so the audience could read it. Or the mouse's painting that we see on the easel. There's a large one for the close-up and a small one for scenes that the puppet is in. And you remember that I made a second easel too, so it would match the size of the bigger painting. And the same with the other painting the mouse sees in the gallery. There's one for shots that have the puppet in it, and a bigger one for close-ups. Though it occurred to me that I might be able to use the big one in the same shot with the puppet if I bring the puppet close to the camera so that it looks bigger and goes out of focus. By the way, if you look closely, you might have noticed that I've redone this painting since the last video, because in the original painting, this mouse is playing the pan flute like this, holding the long tubes in the left hand. But someone who actually plays the pan flute in real life told me that while you will see people playing the pan flute like that, it's much more typical to see someone playing it like this. Now, shots like this are called insert shots. We use an insert shot when we want to show the audience a particular detail up close. There are some other insert shots I need to make, and I'll tell you about it now. When the mouse finds a letter and reads it at the mailbox, I'd like the audience to be able to read the letter too. So, I made a bigger version of the letter. I imagined that the mouse's new friend has fast handwriting, and it took me a few tries to get it the way I wanted it. But when I did, I needed to make the mouse's hand in the right proportion to the letter. So I made a paper pattern, and we really only see the mouse's thumb. And then I traced that on a piece of cardboard, because the thickness of the paper that the mouse's hand is made out of should be in proportion too. After I cut it out, I shaped it into the position of holding a letter, and then painted it the color of the mouse's hand. And then I attached the letter to it. Now I'll need to think about the background. So from this angle, the mouse probably has a view down the street. so I made a background painting. It did not need a lot of detail because it will be out of focus when I film it. And because I wanted it to be blurry, I also painted it to look out of focus. It's good that we can use our imagination to picture what something would look like from someone else's point of view. When I position the hand holding the letter in front of the background and frame it the right way with the camera, the mouse can read the letter, and then we can read the letter. Dear friend, we love the painting. Please come visit and see where it hangs in our home. Warm regards. Now before that, there's a scene where the mouse is writing a letter, and I'd like us to be able to read that letter too. To make a miniature pen, I found that just dipping a piece of bamboo into ink worked pretty well. Then I cut out another cardboard hand and shaped that into the position of holding a pen. And then I painted that one. And glued the pen to it. I glued it a little bit at a time, letting one part dry and then gluing the next part. And I made another hand that would just be resting on the desk, holding the paper in place. I left the bamboo of the pen long enough so that it could be a handle, so I can do the writing with the pen, but if I frame it the right way in the camera, it looks like it's the mouse who's doing the writing. But most of all, I wanted to tell you how much I'm enjoying the painting. I smile every time I see it. Your friend. Now before that, the mouse brings the painting home from the gallery and hangs it up on the wall, and I thought it would be nice if there was an insert shot of just tapping a nail into the wall to hang the painting on. So I wanted to try making a tiny mouse-sized hammer. I carved a handle and sanded it, and I thought I could use some air-drying clay to make the head of the hammer. So I sculpted that into a hammerhead shape. And while it was still wet, I made a hole for the handle so that once it dried, I could put the handle in. Then I painted that part gray, but I also wanted it to have the sheen that a real metal hammerhead has. So I squeezed out a spot of clear glue and sanded some graphite from a pencil into it. And then stirred it together. This was an experiment. It's fun to mix different materials together. Then I painted it over the gray and let it dry, and put it back on the handle. Then I made another mouse hand of the right size and attached it to the handle. Now, something I really like about puppetry is, if I want the puppet to have natural motion, I need to analyze the motion of an action in real life. So I tried to really think about what our hands and arms do to tap in a nail with a hammer. And I made this system of levers to imitate that motion. Can you see how when I move the levers, it moves the forearm and the hand that's holding the hammer? I shortened the top lever and added a wire so that my fingers wouldn't get in the way of the camera. Then I thought about where the mouse would hang the painting and made a new section of wall with a space between a door and a bookcase. And I put in the nail. It's actually the head of a pin that I darkened. And I made a left hand that would be holding the nail in place. And then I set up the hammer mechanism. I have a fancy camera that I use for filming most of the footage you see, but I found for a shot this close up, the camera on my phone works better, so you can see I'm using that. And that's how the mouse will tap in the nail to hang the painting. I have some other insert shots that I need to make, but next I want to work a little more on that bookcase and the door in the background, and I'll tell you about it in the next video.